3 lifelong friends, 6 trusty balls, and endless NFL takes. Welcome to 3 Guys, 6 Balls NFL Podcast.
Welcome to episode 76 of 3 Guys, 6 Balls NFL Podcast. I'm your host, Joel, and I'm here with my 2 co-hosts, Will and Avery. Today, we're going to continue our top 10 fantasy rankings by going through our top 10 wide receivers and tight ends. But before we get into those rankings, Avery wasn't here with us last week when we did our top 10s for quarterbacks and running backs. So, Avery, why don't you go ahead and run us through your top 10s real quick, starting with the quarterbacks. You don't have to go into detail, but just tell us who your top 10 quarterbacks are and your top 10 running backs are. And then if Will and I have any reactions to your list, we can talk about them after.
Yeah, I'll just list them out. First, I had Josh Allen. I feel like he would just be my consensus number 1. 2, I have Lamar Jackson, just because I'm thinking I believe this is his final year of his contract. I could be wrong. If I'm wrong, then I'm just wrong on this pick.
So.
But
I believe so.
But I feel like he's just got a lot to prove, and I feel like it's something he's got to have a productive year soon, and I think this will be it. I've got Matt Stafford at 3. I saw a lot of other boards having him.
Did you just copy Will's list? You just copied Will's list.
You copied my list?
I haven't seen. I don't watch the show.
The one time he watched the episode, and he just
episode?
copied Will's list.
Yeah, exactly.
No. Well, I honestly, I was surprised he was that low on whatever just
I didn't have him in my top 10
list. Whoa, that's.
I know.
I feel
You
like
wanna
that's
know
more
why?
surprising than me. Yeah.
So every single year that Matthew Stafford has thrown over 30 touchdowns, the next year he throws significantly less touchdowns than the year before. He's never thrown 30-plus touchdowns in consecutive years in his whole career, and he's only done it 4 times in his career, which is 17 years long. So I don't think he's going to have the same statistical season that he had this last year, just based off of that pattern.
I don't agree with that at all, but that's a cool stat. I don't care. I have still 3, very very set in 3. In fact, if anything, it's like every time he does great, he flips a coin and it's always landed on heads. So I'm thinking it's going to land on heads for the 4th time. Like tails. I don't know. Number 4. This when I say these are my top 10 rankings, this is like how I think they should do. That being said, number 4, if the other 3 quarterbacks had been taken and I'm drafting and I'm next and I need a quarterback, I don't even know if I would pick this guy, and that's Joe Burrow, just because of injuries. I think that if he's healthy, I might even put him above Stafford if he's healthy, but I like him at 4. 5, weirdly enough, I've got Dak Prescott here. I think that he will do pretty good this season. I don't like my number 6 pick, and it has very little to do with the recent news, and that's Jaden Daniels. I just don't see him. I see him having a bit of a CJ Stroud kind of career even what's his name? Clemson quarterback is on the Browns. Why am I blanking his name?
Quarterback on the Browns?
Yeah.
Watson.
Oh, yeah.
Even a little bit like him, where it's just
Lawrence,
starts off hot, kind of cools down. So I might even be willing to change later on. Number 7, I've got Bo Nix. It's purely because of what Will said 2 weeks ago with his kind of like, this is kind of a revenge tour, like a huge chip on his shoulder because of the injury last season, just like going on a tear. I think the Broncos are poised for a big season. I don't know if that means he will have tremendous fantasy numbers. I don't think he's really that kind of quarterback, but I still like him up there. Jackson Dart. I think I've been kind of on the same page with Joel.
He was my number 5. He was my number 5.
Okay, yeah. I like him there. The next one,
Wait, before you go on, did you guys see Jackson Dart get absolutely just wrecked by that defender?
Yeah. Was it the running back or the fullback that just
running back
do his job?
Didn't do his job at all.
Yeah.
And Jackson Dart just got absolutely wrecked.
That was rough.
That was rough.
Which might be why I have him a little lower than you. I don't know, man. Number 9, I've got Drake May. I think he'll be able to put up some good stats. I don't think he'll be as good as he was last season. Did I clip out there for a second?
No, you're good.
Cool. I don't know if I don't think they're going to the Super Bowl this year, but I think he'll be able to put up some good numbers. And number 10, and this is weird because I had to move him way up compared to where he was on other boards, but Baker Mayfield. I'm surprised.
Oh, yeah.
I'm not necessarily surprised he was out of the top 10 of quarterbacks that you could pick. I know I'm a little biased too, but for the same reason, Lamar Jackson at number 2, I feel like contract year, Baker Mayfield, I just feel like when he's, backs up against the wall, kind of doubted, Baker has just kind of proved himself over and over. I just feel like Baker Mayfield doesn't lose when it comes down to like just falling apart. Like he might not be the best, but like coming into Oklahoma as like a walk-on that the coach wasn't even aware of, like he enrolled in school and stuff, ends up winning a Heisman. I just feel like Baker Mayfield, this will be his year. I say that as a Bucs fan. Yeah, so that's my top 10. Any questions before I hop into the RBs?
No, I like it. Solid list.
All right, running back.
For the exact same.
Really?
We had top.
Oh, you had Burrow at 4?
And then, yep. And then I had Bo Nix at 5, Dak Prescott at 6. So, we have very similar lists.
I believe you also had Drake May at 9, Will.
I do also have Drake May at 9, yes.
Where do you guys have Jaden Daniels? That's what I'm curious about.
I had him at 4.
Respectfully, at number 5.
Okay.
He's the only one that's allowed to be there, too.
Okay. And then, Will, you didn't have Baker, did you?
No, I was making a Jaden Daniels joke for his recent lawsuits. Not lawsuits, but cease and desist.
Yeah.
Have you not seen that?
Yeah, I said despite the news,
You mentioned that
I
earlier.
still have him in there. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. So, no, I don't have him on this list at all.
I feel like the only reason I dislike all of that, well, I mean, there's other reasons, but that football, the quarterback documentary, seeing how his mom, like, runs his little empire, I'm like, oh, this is clearly mom's thought here. Like, how dare they disrespect my baby? Instead, I'm going to just tarnish your whole legacy here. It's like at Carolina, the 2005 champ teams, they had Rashad McCants, who dated one of the Kardashians at one point. Great 3-point shooter, won a national championship. And then when all of that like academic scandal stuff came out, he like came out there like trashing Roy Williams and some other people in the school, and all of his teammates were like, dude, what are you doing? Like, what is this, for some money right now? And he kind of just like isolated himself from the whole school. It's like, dude, was that worth it? I just see this too. I'm like, dude, like you're not Joe Burrow, man. Like, I don't know. At the same time, I do feel like LSU is partially to blame. It's like, you really gonna let someone wear that number like that soon after? I mean, like, dude won a Heisman. Like, that's, yeah, I know he didn't win a national championship for you and go undefeated, but like, that's still a hell of a lot of prestige for your school. Like, why would you do that? Why would you put him in that position? You know who his mom is. Anyway, let's see. You got the RBs. Number 1, we got Gibbs.
Yep.
Gibbs and Bijan. I think they're kind of a little interchangeable there. 3, McCaffrey. 4, I moved him up a bit. I think James Cook is going to do really well. Jonathan Taylor, 5. HN at 6. Henry, Barkley. And then my last 2, I've got Kenneth Walker at 9. I think he's actually going to do decent. I don't think the Chiefs are going to necessarily do decent, but I think he'll do decent. He was splitting time with that other Seahawks running back last year, so I think he'll
Charbonnet.
So I think he'll do a little bit better. Chardonnay. That's I remember making jokes about that, and so I say that now. And then my 10th, I don't even know. I did not pick Jeremiah Love or Genty in this. I don't have either 2 of those guys.
Same.
Put Breece Hall, which I don't even know if I like that. I'll be honest. Like
he looked really good against the Buccaneers backups. He looked really good against the Bucs backups.
Is that a joke, or are you being serious?
No, the Buccaneers
backups
were playing in the preseason game against the Jets starters minus Geno Smith. They played Cade Klubnik, but they looked good against the Buccaneers backups. So
Yeah. Anyway, I got Brees Hall. I feel like that could genuinely go either way. I feel like he could just get shut down, or for whatever reason, the care they are trying to give their O-line could actually pay off. So that's my shaky one. But I left Love and Genty out. I don't know. I'm not seeing it. I think they could be good, but they're a little riskier. Anyway,
I did have Genty, but I didn't have Jeremiah Love in there. Just after seeing the Cardinals highlights from practice, I can't do it. Couldn't do it.
Yeah. Cool.
All right. Well, now that we know Avery's top 10 quarterbacks and running backs, let's get into our top 10 wide receivers and tight ends. So let's start with the wide receivers. And Will, why don't you start us off here? I have a feeling I know which way you're going here with number one, but who is your number one fantasy wide receiver?
I mean, the answer is Puka Nacua, right? He was one last year. He'll be one this year. I kind of talked about this before, but he's got, I mean, through everything he went through this offseason, all of the self problems he solved and went to do his treatment and stuff for it. And I do believe he's on a contract year. And so he's playing for something. Like it's not like he's just out here just raking in the money. He's trying to earn his next contract. And so I like where he's at. I think he's going to have a good year, and I think Stafford's going to have a good year. So I'm riding with Puka Nacua. I desperately thought about putting Devontae Adams on this list as well, but decided one player per team is fine. So yeah, Puka Nacua is who I have at number one.
Avery, who you got?
Number one, I got Jamar.
Me too.
And that's purely because of Burrow. I'm just, please, dude, Burrow, just come back just for the sake of just finally seeing him again. I don't even particularly like him that much, but I'm like, dude, could we just get a full strength? It's the same thing whenever I'm playing Dynasty or anything and on the video game. I'm like, turn off injuries. Dude, I don't want to see this. Just, it's my world. It's my little sandbox. Just stop getting hurt.
Now, if I may here, I think Jamar Chase is the best receiver in the league. I think he is the number one wide receiver in the NFL. But specifically fantasy-wise, I'm not taking him first overall as receiver because you don't know what the quarterback's going to do. You don't know what everything else is going to be at over there. So, anyway, that was the only reason why.
But even without their quarterback, Jamar Chase has led the league in targets for the last 2 seasons with 360. He had 175 in 2024. He had 185 last year. He's the most targeted receiver in the NFL for the last 2 years. And so to me, that makes him the number one wide receiver because he's going to have the most opportunity to score points, especially if Joe Burrow is healthy. But even if he's not, Jamar Chase still did well with Joe Flacco at quarterback last year. I don't think you can go wrong with any of my top 3 receivers, but Jamar Chase, to me, having the targets puts him at number one for me.
Sure.
All right, let's move on to number 2. Will, who do you have at number 2?
I mean, I've got Jamar Chase. So I think it's like a 1 and a 1A thing.
I've got Puka.
Yeah. So
I've got JSN.
What do we?
Whoa!
Yeah, he's my number 3. I've got him at number 3.
That's my number 3.
Like I said, you can't go wrong with the top 3. You really can't. But the reason I have JSN at number 2 is because he had 36% of the team's receptions and targets last year, and 44% of the team's receiving yards. And I think there's a strong chance that could happen again this year. If you look at the game logs from last year, it was just so consistent from week to week. He had one bad statistical game last year in a game that they won 26-0, where they didn't need him to do anything. Other than that, his worst receiving total was 72 yards in a game where he had 9 receptions. He was as consistent as they come last year, and I think we're going to see him play at that same level, not only this year, but for several years down the road. So that's why I have him at number 2.
The reason I have him at number 3 is because, again, the trends move in the NFL, and now that we have a full year of McDonald and Darnold out there in Seattle, I just think teams are going to be able to key in on them and shut that kind of stuff down. I don't think they're going to have near the same success. I think unless you're a Seahawks fan, and even if you are, I think that to think Seattle is going to have an easy time repeating because look how well they did last year, I think that'd be a very ignorant thing to say. And so I think they're going to be good. I think they're going to be pushing for the NFC West, winning the NFC West and pushing for the number 1 seed again. But Seattle does not have as good a team this year as it did last year, and it's going to show And I think all of Seattle across the board is going to take a hit. It's incredibly hard to repeat the NFL, and that's at any specific thing. I don't think JSN has a worse season than he does last year. I just think other receivers do better.
I think Seahawks fans would very much disagree with what you said, Will, but
That's
what else
fine.
would you
They're allowed
expect
to.
from the Seahawks fans? Yeah.
Right. But even when the Chiefs were in their heyday, to think that, oh yeah, we're for sure going to repeat guaranteed. Now they did once, but like just to think it is so ignorant to be like guaranteeing it. It's like we have a shot. You just have a shot to repeat, sure, but it's not going to be an easy road by any means.
Let me just put it this way. The last two teams that have repeated have generational quarterbacks. Tom Brady and Patrick Mahomes.
Right.
It's not
and
easy to
they
repeat.
have Sam Darnold.
Yes. All right, let's move on to number 3. Who do you guys have as your number 3 fantasy wide receiver?
Yeah, JSN.
Okay, I have Puka at number 3. And the reason
why...
Yeah.
You go ahead. You go ahead. Mine's not nonsense.
Okay. The reason why I have Puka at number 3 is because I said last week that I didn't have Matthew Stafford in my top 10 for quarterbacks because based on his statistical history, every season he's thrown 30-plus touchdowns. He's thrown significantly less the following year, but what he has done the following years is still throw for a lot of yards. So I still think Puka Nacua is going to have a lot of catches and a lot of yards, but I think there's a strong chance his touchdowns come down from last year. Stafford threw 46 touchdowns last year, and 10 of them went to Puka Nacua. So let's just say Stafford's touchdowns come down from 46 to 30. Are 10 of those still going to Puka Nacua? He's still going to have a very good season, and I don't blame you at all if you took him number 1 or number 2, but just statistically, it's likely that his numbers come down a little bit from last year because I think Stafford's numbers are going to come down from last year. So I've got him at 3, but again, you can't go wrong with any of the top 3 guys. They're all interchangeable, in my opinion.
Yeah, I for the most part, I feel like, especially with these wide receivers at the top level, I mean, if it's coming down to like, I don't know, splitting hairs in fantasy, it's like there is maybe the better pick based on statistics or whatever. But for the most part, it's like any one of these guys could get hurt at any point in time. I feel like with this, it's like there are so many variables that like when it comes down to this group, it's like it is literally a toss up. And I feel like the 3 of us basically all having a different top 3 just kind of shows that. It's like there are reasons where you could say like, well, this team, has, he's getting this percentage of targets and, they didn't backfill any of the wide receiver depth. So he should be able to get more of it. And then it's like, yeah. And then he, pulls his hamstring and it's like, okay, well, I guess, it doesn't matter as much. But I honestly feel like all of the wide receiver group, much like the running back group, with the main exception of like the top 2 guys, is really heavy. Like I feel like the wide receiver, like our top 10 is the one that will have the most like fluidity. Like when at the end of the season, when we're looking at our top 10, I feel like it's very likely that we could have just 4 guys that like made the top 10 that were in our top 10, and then other guys that make it in there because of injuries, because of just other guys just popping off. I mean, my like 11 through like 18 could easily make it in here. I feel like if, things go wrong for other guys. But
yeah, we said last week, Avery, about both the quarterbacks and running backs that there was really like 15 guys that could have been in the top 10. It was really hard to decide which guy to put into the top 10. So there were guys that probably will finish in the top 10 that all of us had outside of our top 10 because it was a really tough decision to make. And kind of the same thing with the receivers, not as much with the tight ends. There might be 1 or 2 guys in there, but yeah, I agree with what you're saying. All right, number 4. Will, who do you have as your number 4 fantasy wide receiver?
I've got Justin Jefferson this year. I don't know where he ranked for me last year, but I know I didn't rank him high. And truly, he didn't finish very good. He had 201 fantasy points. He finished 21st among receivers last year. And I do believe he played every game. Let me confirm that real quick.
He did.
Justin Jefferson. Yeah, he played every single game. Yeah, 17 games, played every single game, and only got, and I do mean only got 201 fantasy points. To put it in perspective, Jamar Chase, who played 16 games, got 313 fantasy points. So 112 more than Justin Jefferson and a whole game less. Now, vast difference between 9
Vast deference?
and Joe Burrow, even hurt. Yes, between 9 and the actual 9, Joe Burrow, who even hurts. And so, but they've got Kyler this year. Kyler is better than J.J. McCarthy.
You're so brave for saying that.
I'm sure.
Not according to the internet, he's not.
Yeah, I know. I
can't believe the amount of people
and,
that think J.J. McCarthy is better. I cannot believe it.
And Avery, you said this a couple weeks ago. It's like, how are people really surprised by this news? This is such a regular thing. Of course, Kyler was named the starter. But anyway, this year I've got Justin Jefferson number 4. I think that Kyler knows how to use star receivers, star talents, tight ends, receivers, stuff like that. And so I don't think there's any way that Kevin O'Connell allows Justin Jefferson to not have a big year this year.
Avery, who do you have at number 4?
I've got CeeDee Lamb. I think the Cowboys are poised for a big year. Ironically, I know you guys are two former Cowboys fans, but
until they get to the divisional round, then
yeah, but that's fine. This fantasy's over then. I don't care about that at all.
Hey, that's what I've said. That's what I said about having Dak in my top 10 quarterbacks.
We're talking fantasy, not winning in the playoffs. Yeah.
For my number 4 receiver, I have Amon-Ra St. Brown. Because for the last 3 years, Amon-Ra St. Brown has finished as the wide receiver 3 in fantasy. So we probably should put him at 3. But the problem I ran into is between Jamar Chase, Jason, and Puka, who do I kick out? So I put him at 4. Over the last 3 years, there's only one receiver who scored 300 plus fantasy points in each of those years, and it's Amon-Ra St. Brown. Jamar Chase has done it in the last 2 years, but Amon-Ra St. Brown is the only one who's done it for the last 3. I don't think he's going to be the first receiver taken off the board in many leagues, but if you don't get him as one of the top 3 receivers, Amon-Ra St. Brown has been just as good as those guys have been. And with Amon-Ra St. Brown, you know exactly what you're going to get every single year. The biggest point differential he's had in total points from one season to the next over the last 3 years is 14.7 points. You know exactly what you're getting every single year with Amon-Ra St. Brown. So that's why I have him at 4. All right, let's move on to number 5. Avery, who do you got at 5?
I got Amon-Ra St. Brown. For basically what you were saying. I think
Too
he's
low.
just another too low. Yeah. No, I think he'll do fine. If anything, I like his I think he's a much more safe pick than CeeDee Lamb, I would say. I just like Lamb's ceiling points wise for fantasy a little bit more.
Well, I have CeeDee Lamb at number 5. It was hard.
I also
We're talking about, no, that guy sucks. He should be one ahead. We're talking. Yeah.
Yeah. It was hard for me because Pickens is on the other side of CeeDee Lamb, and he absolutely balled out last season, and he should again this year because he's hoping to get paid. But to me, CeeDee Lamb is still wide receiver 1 in Dallas. As great as Pickens was last year, and as good as I think he's going to be again this year, CeeDee Lamb is still the number 1. And I did note last week that Dak Prescott gets hurt every other year, and if that pattern continues, he's going to get hurt this year. But even if Dak does get hurt, CeeDee Lamb to me is the safer receiver of the two because he's the guy who does more of the screen passes, the short throws that they just let him pick up yards, that type of stuff, while Pickens is more of the receiver who's making like the crazy downfield catches. So with or without Dak, I'd take CeeDee Lamb, but I also do have Pickens in my top 10, so I don't have him far behind CeeDee. Will, you said you had CeeDee at 5 too as well.
Yeah, I also have CeeDee at 5. CeeDee Lamb played 14 games last season and scored 0.1 points less than Justin Jefferson, who played all 17 games. Dallas has a high-flying offense, and that's kind of it, unfortunately, for them. And they love to throw the ball. They love to be a part of it, and they love to move the ball downfield a lot. I didn't expect anything less. Well, I expect significantly more from CeeDee this year than last year, injury or not.
All right, let's move on to number 6. Avery, who you got at 6?
6. I got Justin Jefferson. I'm really hoping Kyler Murray comes in and does something for this boy. I feel like Justin Jefferson is just decaying.
Yeah, you got to be
right
careful
now.
with that word. Hey, you got to be careful with that word.
Yeah, I think he's younger. Is he younger than me? How old is he? If he's younger than me, I can legally say that.
Avery,
He's hella younger
Avery, we're
than me.
33. We're 33. He's younger than us.
He's 27. Yeah, he's 6 years younger than me.
Yeah.
If you were going into first grade, this boy was getting his booty wiped by his mama.
Yeah. I think
just because he's significantly more athletic than we are, it doesn't mean that he's older than we are.
Yeah. I think
He used to.
I think he's gonna get his numbers back up. I feel bad. In fact, here, give me 1 sec here. Like, the thing is every year, I'm looking at it right now, he's gotten 1,000 yards every single season. The difference is last season he only had 2 touchdowns.
Yeah,
him and CeeDee Lamb had a very, very similar season. It just production was just way down. But I think Kyler Murray can get it done. I don't think JJ can. So I like him a little higher than I would have had him. If JJ was there, he wouldn't have made the top 10 for me.
I agree with you. I also have Justin Jefferson at number 6 for all the same reasons that you said. I just think he's going to have a bounce back year. I think we should be expecting him to have a bounce back year. Last year was really his only bad season in the NFL, and it wasn't even bad. It was just bad fantasy-wise because he wasn't one of the top 3 receivers like we expect Justin Jefferson to be. So I think he's going to have a really good year with Kyler Murray because J.J. McCarthy's not his quarterback. So I've got him at 6 as well.
For me at 6, I have Amon-Ra St. Brown, which means that through our top 6 for the 3 of us, we have the same people in just a little bit different order. And so, honestly, like you said, Joe, Amon-Ra St. Brown has been the number 3 wide receiver in fantasy for the last 3 years. And Jared Goff gets, from me specifically, it's a lot of disrespect because over the last 3 years in fantasy football for Jared Goff, he's been the number 9 quarterback, number 6 quarterback, number 7 quarterback. Actually, and even one before that, he's been top 10 quarterback in fantasy for the last 4 years. But every single year, I just expect him to do bad because it's Jared Goff, and I just don't respect him, I guess. He's a good quarterback. I just don't think of him as good. And so his players, I just think of less good than those that have a good quarterback. Even though Goff is good and Amon-Ra is good, I have him at number 6, although he probably deserves to be at number 1 or 2. Truly.
He does. Absolutely. All right, let's move on to number 7. Will, who do you have as your number 7 fantasy wide receiver?
Old player on a new team. I've got A.J. Brown as my number 7 quarterback.
Same.
Hey.
Me too.
Oh, yeah, I did it. I did a thing. I thought this was going to spark some conversation, but I guess not.
I thought it was too. I really did.
A.J. Brown has only one option this year, and that is to play his heart out. You whined, you complained, stuff got leaked, you got yourself removed from the team you didn't want to be on anymore, you joined the team that just went to the Super Bowl. They were the representation in the Super Bowl from the AFC, and so your only option this year is to show up and to be the number 1 receiver you are claiming to be. And truly, he's very good. He's a good receiver. He has ups and downs, but when he's on, he's on. When he plays 17 games in a season, which has only happened, twice in his career, he's been 5th and 6th in fantasy points. Last year, he only played 15 games, and he was still 11. He got 220 points, only playing 15 games. I like what they got going on there. So long as the offensive line can keep Drake May off the dirt, I think A.J. Brown's going to have a huge year over in New England.
Yeah, as you mentioned, Will, A.J. Brown finished as wide receiver 11 last season while missing 2 games and not wanting to play for the Eagles. And now he's playing in an environment where he really wants to be, with a team that is going to get him a lot more involved in their offense. The Eagles didn't always use A.J. Brown the way that he wanted to be used because of how they ran their offense, but I think the Patriots are going to make A.J. Brown more of a focus, so I think we should expect a better season from A.J. Brown this year. A.J. Brown had 7 games last year where he had less than 50 receiving yards. And I think we're going to see much less of that because of the way the Patriots are going to use him. I've seen a lot of people saying A.J. Brown could finish as wide receiver 1 this year, and I'm not going to go that far, but I do think he's going to have a much better statistical season than he did a season ago.
I mean, he wears number 1, so he will finish as a wide receiver who wears number 1. He will also finish as wide receiver 1 in New England. So I'll give him that. But number 1 in the NFL, that's a bit of a stretch.
Yeah. Avery, what about you? Why do you have him at 7?
This is AJ. Yeah, no, I think he's a monster. If anything, I'm actually surprised I don't have him a little higher up. I think with Drake London, I think he's going to do great. I think just his attitude of being on New England, which seems like it's really where he wants to be. I think it's going to be really good. I think that's honestly a big reason I have Drake May in my top 10 is just because AJ Brown is there.
Yep. All right, Avery, who do you have as your number 8 fantasy wide receiver?
All right, I'm going to go out on a limb and say that this is where where at least I diverge from the group a little bit. Now maybe not. I think there might be one guy on here that Joel has. I don't know, probably. I got Ted McMillan at number 8.
I do not have him.
I was
He's on my
not
list.
I was not super high on him going into the year. Absolutely proved me wrong. I think he is poised. I think he's going to be one of the top receivers in the league the next few years. The guy's just a monster, despite being on the Panthers. I just think he's going to be. I think he's big enough to avoid the injuries, and I think he's just going to get a lot of targets and catch a lot of balls downfield. So I got him at 8.
At number 8, I have Zay Flowers for the Baltimore Ravens.
That's a good one. That's a good pick. I didn't put him in my top 10, but I think that's a solid pick.
I've got Lamar Jackson at number 2 for my quarterbacks. He's going to throw the ball to somebody. Zay Flowers last year finished at number right. Thank you, Avery. Last year he finished at number 7 with 243 fantasy points. He gets a lot of targets, gets a lot of receptions, and he's just quietly. He's probably like the quietest number 1 receiver in the league. We don't hear a lot from him. We don't hear a lot about him. He just is. He's the clear main target over there in Baltimore, but we never talk about Baltimore as a throwing team. It's all just Derrick Henry and Lamar Jackson running the football. So 118 targets last year, 86 receptions, over 1,200 yards, 5 touchdowns. I expect probably the same amount of targets. I expect the receptions to go up, and then the touchdowns go up as well this upcoming year.
All right, yeah, my number 8 fantasy wide receiver, I have Chris Olave. Last year, Chris Olave finished as wide receiver 6, and a big part of that was because he had the 5th most targets last year with 156. Now, the Saints did draft Jordan Tyson this year, but his injury concerns are already following him into his rookie season, and there's currently no timetable for his return. And as we've talked about before, outside of Olave and Tyson, the Saints have nobody at receiver. So I expect a lot more targets to be coming Olave's way this year, and Jordan Tyson will cut into those a little bit when he gets back on the field. But even then, Tyson is a rookie and Chris Olave is still going to be the number 1 option. So I think he's going to have a really good chance to finish as a top 10 wide receiver again this year. So that's why I put him at 8.
Look, I kind of went out on a limb here, and I don't really like it, but I'm going to stick with it because he is currently listed as wide receiver 1 on their depth chart. I've got Jalen Waddle.
I like that.
Wait, Avery, who did you say?
I thought he was going to say Malik Neighbors.
Oh,
no, I don't trust the Giants like you guys do.
I know. Yeah.
Look, this is.
That's why I would have been surprised.
I don't trust the Giants. I just trust Jackson Dart. That's all. That's it.
This is Jalen Waddle's first year in. Look, there's no other way to say this. This is his first year in a winning franchise. He's been with the Dolphins his whole career. They've been keeping their nose above water the whole time he's been there. Well, they've made the playoffs. Great. He's been behind Tyreek Hill. He's been behind everybody else. And then they were just abysmal last year. And so this is his first year where he's a true number 1. And if history repeats itself and we get the same or very similar Broncos team that we had last year, what they have to do at the end of every single game? Throw deep, hope for a prayer, win the game in the last seconds. Now, if we saw the Chiefs do that 3 years ago, and then 2 years, maybe it was 2 years ago, and last year they tried it again, it just didn't work the same. So it's not a consistent thing that can keep happening. But if they're going to do it, Jalen Waddle is going to be the beneficiary of that. He's their downfield threat. He's the guy that they're going to go to regularly. Once him and Bo Nix can get their chemistry in order, watch out, because Jalen Waddle is going to be one of the best receivers in the league.
All right, Avery, what about you? Who do you got at 9?
I got Chris Olave for the same reasons
Nice.
Joel put out there. I think I was amazed at how well he did last year, considering what we thought the Saints season would look like, and Tyler Shuck.
Yeah.
But I think for those same reasons that Joel pointed out, I think Tyson is a glass cannon. I think if we see him, we'll probably see some cool moments for a few games, and then he'll just be this, hype enigma in the ether that we keep saying, man, if he gets healthy, watch out, but we'll never really see him. No, but I think Chris Olave is already a beast. I had kind of written him off a bit. I thought concussions were going to get to him before he ever started producing well again, but it looks like he's kind of back on track, so I like him there.
At number 9, I've got George Pickens. George Pickens was in a contract year last year and had the best season of his career. And this year, he's in another contract year, hoping that he'll get a big contract after this season. So I do expect to see George Pickens play at the same level that we saw from him last year. Now, as I mentioned earlier, I still think CeeDee Lamb is the number 1 wide receiver for the Cowboys. And something I didn't mention earlier is that I think the Cowboys' defense is going to be improved this year. So the Cowboys won't have to throw the ball as much to put up as many points because their defense will be improved, in my opinion. I still think Pickens is going to have a great season, but I don't think he reaches the same marks that he had last year with 93 catches for 1,400 yards because that defense is going to be better. So I think he'll still be top 10, but I don't see him finishing at 5 like he did last season. All right, number 10. Will, who you got as your number 10 fantasy wide receiver?
His name's already been mentioned. I have Teteroa McMillan as my number 10 receiver. He had 122 targets last year. Yeah, 122 targets last year as a rookie, and only 70 receptions on that, which is not great. But more experience with Bryce Young, more experience in the NFL. I think maybe not targets, but I think the receptions will go up. Targets will remain the same. They have a just gigantic receiving core, and I specifically mean height-wise, to where I just think that they're among the trees. And so once he gets more settled into the league and able to get into his game, I think it's going to be really good for him, and I've got him at number 10.
So number 10, I'm going to switch my number 10 right now on the show because I didn't have this guy at number 10 before, but I'm going to put him in there now because of what Will said. I'm going to go with Zay Flowers at number 10.
Can you tell us who you removed?
Yes, I did have Drake London at 10, but after seeing Tua look lost and confused,
there ain't no way.
There's no way, dude. I did have him at 10, but I just can't do it now. I can't. After seeing that, I can't do it. So I'm going to remove Drake London, and I'm going to put Zay Flowers in my top 10.
Did you forget about Zay Flowers?
No.
Fair enough.
Yeah. Avery, who do you have at 10?
I got a Mecca Buka. Egg Big Boo.
Nice.
No, I think he's poised for a big season. Yeah. Yeah,
Chris Godwin is going to be more of like a short to intermediate type of guy, like a chain mover, but Ibuka is going to be the big play guy.
I think just in general, I think he was right on the cusp of 1,000 yards. I think that for your rookie season, I think he is just poised to have a huge season. So I know that they have more targets on the team, but I am completely biased here, but I think he's going to have a great season. I also do want to say that when I was making my list, I initially had Drake London at 7, and he just continuously I kept moving him down. He just disappeared from my list. I was like, why did I initially have him so high? Like, what am I doing? Anyway, yeah, I have very little faith in Drake London's fantasy production. I want to say that. I have little faith in Drake London's fantasy production.
Drake London, wonderful wide receiver, is going to do amazing things. Not this upcoming season and not on that team.
Yeah. So, anyway.
All right. Well, that wraps up our top 10 wide receivers. So let's move on to our top 10 tight ends. And Avery, we'll start with you. Who do you have as your number 1 fantasy tight end this year?
I'm going to be honest. I'm not. I feel like this could get switched up so much. I feel like whereas the wide receivers, I feel like top 20 could be very, very solid picks for a fantasy team. I think anyone in this top 10 could easily just be a huge disappointment. For whatever reason, with the tight ends, I look at Trey McBride as my number 1. I feel like he will never have as good of a season as he did last season. I want to just put the fantasy-wise, what do you have, 12 touchdowns? Yeah, that's not happening again. Not happening again. I don't think he's gonna get. I think he's gonna suffer from what Brock Bowers suffered from last season. Just inefficient, incompetent quarterback play. Just, all right, you're not getting the ball. How are you going to get the ball? This is the same thing with Tyreek Hill in Miami. Like, who's going to give you the ball? Who's getting you the ball? I feel like, and I'm just going to put this out here right now. Bowers is my number 2. I'm sure we've got a combination of that somewhere. Both of these guys, I'm like, dude, this is such a gamble. What is up with these good tight ends being on horrible teams, like bad, like question mark quarterback teams? What is this? I don't understand it. All of them have just bad or question mark quarterback situations. So I don't feel confident with any of these. I feel like this could easily get shot around. But yeah, I got McBride and Bowers. Just because I'm like, with how up and down it is, I'm like, they're good athletes. They're good at football. Like, they'll probably do pretty good. They'll make it. They'll be in the top 10 by the end of the season. Anyway, you guys.
Will, do you also have Trey McBride at 1?
I don't actually.
Do you have 0%? Do you have Bowers and McBride at 1 and 2?
I do not.
Ooh.
I do not. I have Brock Bowers at number 1. I have Brock Bowers at number 1. He only played 12 games last year. He'll play more games this year, and they've got better quarterback play over there. It doesn't actually matter which one of them is playing, whether it's Kirk Cousins or Mendoza. It's going to be better and more consistent quarterback play than what they had the year before with Geno. I just think that what Mendoza is showing in the preseason is really good, and it's good to see. And what Kirk's showing is the same thing he's shown for the last 80 years. I remember my grandpa telling me stories about watching Kirk Cousins play, so that's cool. I'm just kidding. Kirk Cousins isn't even that old. But it seems like he's been around the league forever, so I've got Brock Bowers at 1, and number 2, I have, and this is going to cause a fight, Travis Kelce. I have Travis Kelce at number 2.
Number 2?
In his entire career as a starting tight end in the NFL, he has never been outside the top 10, including last year. He finished as the number 3 tight end in the NFL last year in fantasy. And last year, people said he was bad and washed, and he ended at number 3. But the year before that, he finished at number 5. The year before that was number 3. And then we have 1, 2, 1, 1, 1, 1. And in his first 2 years as a starter, he was number 9. So I have, in what is probably going to be his final year in the NFL, I don't know if he's come out and said it yet, but it's probably going to be his final year in the NFL. It's Mahomes' and Kelsey's last ride around the sun. He's married now, so he doesn't have all that extra pressure of like, I got to perform, so my girlfriend stays my girlfriend. They're married now, so they're locked, right? That's how marriages go. They're locked forever, right?
Yeah, that's how that goes.
Yeah, for sure. No, but I just think there's a lot. He's got a lot less stuff going on, if that makes sense. Like, there's people are kind of not like over, like nobody cares, but there's less drama, it seems like, at least from my point of view, behind Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce. It's just a regular thing now. Nobody cares that his wife is going to show up to the football games. Of course his wife is going to be there. Why wouldn't she be there? It's his wife. So I think he's got less distractions this season. It's probably going to be his final year. And with that, I think he's going to put on a good show, and we're going to get number 2, Travis Kelce. And if the Chiefs are going to make the playoffs, it's going to be behind Travis Kelce.
I thought my ranking him at 7 was going to be controversial, but number 2.
Dude. Wow. It is controversial. That's too low.
I actually like Will's reasoning.
Oh, thank you so much.
It makes sense.
Wow,
it absolutely makes sense. Like Will mentioned, Travis Kelce had his worst fantasy football season since 2015, and he still finished as tight end 3 last season. We haven't seen Travis Kelce have a 1,000-yard season in 3 years, but yet the lowest he's finished in fantasy over that time frame is tight end 5. We may not see Travis Kelce put up 1,000-yard seasons anymore, but he's still getting over 100 targets a year, and he's still getting over 800 yards every season. The only reason I put him a little bit lower on my tight end list is because we're seeing a lot of younger tight ends such as Harold Fannin Jr., Tyler Warren, Colston Loveland, guys like that step up. And so I think those guys will overtake Kelce in fantasy, but I still think that when we're sitting here at the end of the season and we're looking at tight end rankings, we're going to easily see Travis Kelce in the top 10. So I don't have him as high as Will, but I do have him well into my top 10 because he's just going to be there. He will.
I also think that Travis Kelce has really good fantasy value because nobody's going to want him, because the perception from last year is that, oh, this dude's bad. This dude's washed. He's old. I mean, he is one of the first people we talked about today, probably the first person we talked about today, who's older than us. He's 36 years old. So like he's old for the NFL. And so I think you could probably sneak a Travis Kelce in round like 10 to 13 and get like Bowers and Warren and McBride and all these other guys who come off the board already before then. And so you can just sit back and sit in the pocket and just not worry about not a tight end and then end up in one of the final rounds getting tight ends, a tight end who has yet to finish outside the top 10 in his whole career as a starter.
So where do you have McBride, Will?
We'll get there.
Okay. I just want to go back to number 1 and my reasoning for putting McBride at 1 because I do have him at 1. I've got Bowers at 2. So Trey McBride has had over 100 catches in each of the last 2 seasons, and he's very clearly the number 1 receiving option in the Cardinals offense. In 2025, he had 126 catches, which was 48 more than the next guy on the team. And in 2024, he had 111 catches, which was 49 more than the next guy on the team. I feel like the Cardinals offense is full of fantasy football what-ifs. What if this year is Marvin Harrison Jr.'s year? What if Michael Wilson can repeat his success from last year? What if Jeremiah Love takes over the backfield? Based on what we've seen and heard about Marvin Harrison Jr. this year, it feels like we could see another up and down season for him. Michael Wilson was great in the second half of last season after not really doing much of anything the first half of the year. Now, can he keep that going? With Jeremiah Love, we know he's got the talent, but how are the Cardinals going to split the touches between these running backs? Trey McBride is the one sure thing the Cardinals have offensively. And with Trey McBride, we're not wondering what he'll do. We're not waiting for his breakout moment. Instead, we're expecting him to perform like a superstar every single week because that's what he is. So it's easy to trust him in fantasy. But with these other guys, we don't know exactly what we're going to get from them yet. So as long as these other guys in the Cardinals offense continue to stay in this bubble of potential, there's no reason to think that Trey McBride won't be the best fantasy tight end again this year.
I mean, I disagree, but that's fine.
Yeah. All right. I don't think we really need to talk about Brock Bowers much. So, Will, who do you have as your number 3 fantasy tight end?
Number 3, I've got Tyler Warren, tight end for the Indianapolis Colts, the only team in Indianapolis currently, or in Indiana currently. Last year, he finished tight end number 4, 188 fantasy points. I think we're going to get more out of him this year. I think we're going to get more out of the Colts as a whole. Reports from on-field reporters for Colts for Colts camp this year says it doesn't even look as if, what's that dude's name? What's their quarterback's name? This is embarrassing. Daniel Jones. Yeah, it doesn't even look as if Daniel Jones had surgery. So he's playing at a better level. Tyler Warren is an absolute beast, and he's going to be there consistently. And so I've got him sitting at number 3, Tyler Warren.
Yeah, I've got Tyler Warren at number 3. I think he's going to be great in the league. I think there will be in his career at least a few years where he is the fantasy number 1 tight end.
Yeah, for sure.
I want to say that I feel like this kind of goes in line with what's his name, Kelce, being a top 5 tight end last year, despite everyone thinking he was washed. I think the tight end play was so weak last year.
Yeah.
And that's why you have we have 3 rookies that are just like all of a sudden top 10. Like, who was the competition? You have Trey McBride, who got it was a 99 on Madden, all because he's the only one that actually showed out. Everyone just did enough to be like, oh, well, he's top 10 tight end. It's like, yeah, because he played all 17 games. Like that was basically the only prerequisite. Like, no one had a good season. I don't know if the trend is just like we're not going to the tight ends as much, if the talent is lower, if the wide receiving core in the NFL is just that much better that it's not as much of an option. But I do feel like Tyler Warren is like just a pure tight end. I feel like he will stand out moving forward. I like him on the Colts. I think it was a shame that Daniel Jones went down. I thought he could have been up there with McBride if he had stayed healthy, if Jones had stayed healthy. But yeah, I've got Tyler Warren. I think I like him a lot. I think he's great.
Can I back up Avery's point here? Trey McBride last year, fantasy tight end number 1, had 316 fantasy points. Kyle Pitts was fantasy tight end number 2 last year with 211.
Ooh, I can't wait to talk about Kyle Pitts. That's a good.
That's
conversation
105 fantasy points less. Joel mentioned this already. Trey McBride, 169 targets last year. Kyle Pitts again, number 2, with 118. So 50 less targets. And then at receptions, Kyle Pitts again, number 2. Trey McBride, 126 targets. 126 receptions. Kyle Pitts was number 2 for tight ends, again, with 88 receptions. So that's why he just produced at a higher level. Right, just to hammer Avery's point home. He was given the opportunity and produced at the higher level.
Just to show that number 1 had 50% more points than number 2 is sad.
Yeah.
It's very sad.
All right, I've got Tyler Warren at 4, and Will's going to absolutely hate my number 3 pick. It's Colston Loveland.
You've got Colston Loveland? Are you kidding me?
Look, in his first 6 games last year, Colston Loveland had 11 catches for 116 yards and 0 touchdowns. But then the Bears played the horrendous Bengals defense, and Colston Loveland came alive. So then in his next 10 games, starting with the game against the Bengals, Loveland had 47 catches for 597 yards and 6 touchdowns. So if you take out the first 6 games and you go off those last 10, Loveland was on pace to get 80 catches for over 1,000 yards and 10 touchdowns. And that would have been good enough to be tight end 2 in fantasy last year. Just like I expect Caleb Williams to take a step up with another year in Ben Johnson's system, I also expect Colston Loveland to do the same thing. He finished last year really strong, and I expect him to carry that over into the start of this season.
Look, I do have him in my top 10. I have him in my top 10.
I do too. I don't like it. I don't like it.
And just like Avery, just like you said for Drake London, how he started at one spot and just kept slipping down. That's how Colston Loveland was for me. But it has nothing to do with Colston Loveland and everything to do with that team.
I wouldn't expect anything else from Will.
For me, it's the team, and I've just not been a huge fan of Loveland since we first started. We were talking about him in the draft. Just not as big of a fan. But that being said, I did not want him in the top 10, but I still had to put him in the top 10. So respect.
Truly had to.
Yeah, I know.
We're running out of options at that number 10.
I know. There's no one left.
Anyway. Moving on to number 4. I already mentioned I have Tyler Warren. He's kind of the opposite of what Colston Loveland did last year. Like, he started off really strong and then he faded towards the end of the season, but it wasn't necessarily his fault. It's not because of his talent at all. It's just because of his quarterback play. Once Daniel Jones went down, or once Daniel Jones got hurt, even though he was still playing through his original leg injury, the Tyler Warren just wasn't the same. So I think Tyler Warren's going to come back. As long as Daniel Jones comes back and he looks like he did last year, I think Tyler Warren's going to have a really good season, so that's why I put him at 4. Now, Will, who you got it for?
This is where I had Trey McBride, because we saw it last year where even Tyler Warren, who started great and faded off, he still ended up at number 4. So even if a really good tight end has a bad year, and same thing with Travis Kelce at number 3 last year, when you are that good and you have a down year, it's still better than everybody else's good years. And so Trey McBride is that good. And so if he has a down year, it's still going to be top 5. I got him at number 4. I do not trust anything the Cardinals have going on, offensively, defensively, special teams. They also play in what's probably going to be the toughest division in football this year, except for the Cardinals. And unfortunately, he is on that team. So barring some sort of team change for Trey McBride, I have him at number 4 because I just don't think he's going to be able to repeat everything because you've only got to cover one guy. So,
Avery, what about you?
4, I've got Harold Fannin.
Ooh.
For whatever reason, these rookies are filling the void that is left by the rest of the league's tight ends. I don't know what's going on. He's good. I think the Browns are going to do decent. It's too bad they don't have Garrett anymore. Not that it'll matter. It doesn't really change the amount of wins they get, but I've got him at 4. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see. I'm so dispassionate about the tight end group. I'm not like I really hope something changes this coming season. It feels like we're picking cornerbacks. Who's going to end up with the most picks? Like I don't know. Whoever gets the luckiest.
It was more fun picking the kickers last year.
Yeah. I just looked at the names.
What's the breaking
news? Cardinals bad news starts already. Jeremiah Love high ankle sprain. Won't play the rest of the preseason. Possibly not even week 1. So
good. I left him out.
So yeah, there's that. Like I just talked a bunch of crap about the Cardinals, and then immediately, hey, people are hurting the Cardinals. Their one new shining star isn't even going to play the start. So there's that.
Yeah,
Tyler Algier season, baby.
Let's keep it rolling. Let's go into number 5. Avery, who you got at 5?
Laporta.
Oh, same dude.
I think just further because down for me.
Yeah, I just he's on the Lions. I think he'll do well. I think he'll just they got too many other weapons. They're not going to be able to cover him as well. I think he'll be a recipient of being a little bit more open. So yeah, I got Laporta, but who knows? Who knows?
I'm going to stick in the same division, but go with Tucker Kraft as my number 5 tight end.
Oh, sure.
Tucker Kraft only played 8 games last year before he tore his ACL, but in those 8 games, he had 32 catches for 489 yards and 6 touchdowns, so he was on pace for 68 catches, over 1,000 yards, and 12 touchdowns. Tucker Kraft was clearly the number 1 receiving option for the Packers before he got hurt. Now, I know he's coming back from the ACL injury, which does scare me a little bit because I feel like we've seen a lot of players come back from ACL injuries and take a little while to get back into form. But I just can't deny the production that he had when he was on the field last year. So I have him at 5. I don't think that I would be surprised if he finishes higher than 5 or lower than 5, honestly. But I think he's going to have another really good season. All right, let's move on to Will. Did you want to give a reason why you have Laporta at 6 or 5? I mean,
sure. The Lions have one less weapon this year than they had last year, and I don't know which one it is, Sonic or Knuckles. I could never keep which one is which straight.
Knuckles,
but one of them isn't there anymore, and so one less weapon is good for the rest of them because there's a little less ball sharing that has to happen. So. Goff has always struck me as a tight end lover. I know what I said. And so I think Laporta's going to have a good year. That's a nice tight end.
All right. Will, who do you have as your number 6 tight end?
I have Tucker Kraft. Just like you said, I think that he's going to come back and Jordan Love's going to have to rely on him. I don't really trust any of the other Packers receivers. They do have, I mean, Watson's their true number 1, right? Like he's technically their number 1 receiver, but everyone just kind of like falls into like this puddle of mud, dare I say. Sorry to just breach branding rights, I'm sure, but they all just kind of like blend together. It's just like one big mixing pot. And then there's just like, oh, hey, Tucker Kraft was doing some cool things last year. So because he was out for so long, I think he'll get a little disrespect early and be able to take advantage of that, and it'll be too late to recover. So Tucker Kraft.
Avery?
I got George Skittle. I think he will resist the substation. I think he will remain healthy. And I think he'll get back on track. He had a little down year last year, which probably means he was, I don't know, number 6 among tight ends probably. But I think he'll get back to 1,000 yards. That's still not. That's so sad. He
was tied for second at 14.7 points per game.
Oh,
he also tore his Achilles. So
yes,
yeah.
Had he had played the full season, probably tight end number 2.
Yeah. So yeah, I like I like Kittle there. He's just one of those. He's like for the same reasoning that Will had with Kelsey. I just think he's just one of those guys. It's like, he's been dependable enough. I don't want to bet against him, so I got Kittle there.
At number 6 for me, I've got Harold Fannin Jr. And kind of like Avery mentioned, when you look at what Harold Fannin Jr. did in his rookie year, he was right there with what Tyler Warren and Colston Loveland did. He just doesn't get talked about as much because he plays for the Browns and he wasn't a first-round pick. And who could have predicted that he would be just as good as those guys? I feel like I know someone who said that, but I just can't seem to remember who it is.
Specifically you.
It was specifically me. He was every bit as good as those guys were. But Harold Fannin Jr. is the number one receiving option for the Browns. I know that they brought in a couple of young guys and they have Jerry Jeudy, but Harold Fannin Jr. to me should still be the number one option. And with these quarterbacks most likely being rotated in and out of the starting lineup once again, they're going to be looking for their safety blanket, which is usually the tight end. When these quarterbacks need to play, they're going to throw it to the guy that they trust the most, and I think that's going to be Harold Fannin Jr. So after what he did with 3 starting quarterbacks last year, I expect him to have another really good year this year. Number 7, I have Travis Kelce. I already mentioned that in my reasoning. So, Avery, who do you have as your number 7 fantasy tight end?
I got Loveland. This is one of my like unreasonably like I don't like him, but whatever. Like if he doesn't do well, I'll be like, yeah. But that's a bad part of me that's saying that I shouldn't have, that I should try to work on. But I had to keep him in there because I think he's doing good enough, because I think the rest of the tight ends are just falling apart. So I got Loveland in there. Whatever. Whatever.
Will, who you got at 7?
You guys ready to fight? Because I have Mark Andrews.
Ooh,
maybe.
I don't hate that.
There's no Isaiah Likely this year, so there's no one coming in to steal his tight end time. And so Mark Andrews is the guy again in Baltimore. And like I said with Zay Flowers, Lamar Jackson has to throw the ball at somebody. And so now he's got 2 guys. He's got Zay Flowers. He still has the same 2 guys, Zay Flowers and Mark Andrews. I hope he's able to fully bounce back. Last year he was tight end 16, but again, he was splitting a lot of time with Isaiah Likely last year, and that just won't be the case this year. So I expect a bigger year out of him, and there's that.
I feel like I forgot about him, honestly. I don't think I even thought about him one time when I was doing these rankings.
Same.
That's
He's
right.
on my list.
All right, we'll just keep it going for us with number 8.
I've got TJ Hawkinson. Look, I don't like this pick. I hate it. I thought about changing him out for George Kittle because George Kittle did not make my list. There's no guarantee that Kittle comes back on time. We saw it a couple years ago with CMC where he was kind of injured preseason, and then that injury just lasted for the majority of the season. And I just have this sinking feeling it's going to be the same thing with Kittle's Achilles, to where it's just never going to fully recover. But I've got TJ Hawkinson here because, again, for the same reasons why I've got Justin Jefferson as my number 4 receiver. Look, anything almost is better than J.J. McCarthy. And what's his bucket? Kyler Murray loves a tight end. And I mean that positionally in the NFL. He loves to throw to a tight end. And so I've got TJ Hawkinson here. That's fair. But I've got TJ Hawkinson here because, again, to be tight end number 8 in the league, let me go to actual stats. 25 season stats, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Hope that's not fantasy points. Let me start over. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Tight end number 8 was Juwan Johnson last year, who only got 180 fantasy points. And so I feel like with a competent quarterback and a competent team, which the Vikings should have, Hawkinson should be able to shoot up the boards. Last year, he was 26 with 113 fantasy points, and I expect bigger numbers out of him this year.
At 8, I've got Tucker Kraft for the same reasons you guys do, just a little bit lower. That's all.
At number 8, I've got George Kittle. And to me, it feels really low for someone like George Kittle, but he's coming back from a torn Achilles, and I don't know from experience, but from everything I've heard, that is a very hard injury to come back from and play at the same level right away. So I think if you're drafting George Kittle in fantasy this year, you're going to have to be patient. I don't think the 49ers are going to want to get him the ball 7 or 8 times a game right away. If they were smart, they would try to work him back up to that level throughout the season. So I think George Kittle is going to have a nice season, but I don't know if we should be expecting 1,000 yards from him this year. Even if he does end up playing week 1, which it sounds like he is, I just wouldn't expect that from him right away. So that's why I have him a little bit lower this year.
I personally would be shocked if he makes a trip to Australia. I would be shocked if he flew all the way to Australia to play.
From everything I've seen, it sounds like he's going to play, but we'll see.
Well, he wants to play, and so he's going to push to play because he's George Kittle. But I will be shocked if he goes.
But if he goes to Australia, he's further away from the substation, so maybe his injury would get better.
That is true. And as all of us know, Australia is so third world, they didn't even have power there, which is why they have to play the game on Thursday.
With the Aborigines.
Exactly. They're on a walkabout, and so that's just how they have to do it. So.
All right, we're getting down to the end of the tight end list here. So we're at number 9, and nobody has mentioned Kyle Pitts yet. So I got to ask, do you guys have Kyle Pitts in your top 10?
I have Kyle Pitts at number 9. I have Kyle Pitts at number 9. I did. If I put Loveland in there, I'll be damned if I don't put Kyle Pitts in there. They're not. I can't put Loveland and leave Kyle Pitts out. I think Kyle Pitts will do well enough. I think he will make the top 10 this season.
Look, I have Kyle Pitts at number 9 as well, but I think there's a good chance that he finishes outside of the top 10. Kyle Pitts finished as tight end 2 in fantasy last year, but it might be one of the most deceiving fantasy finishes that we've ever seen. If you look at this. If you look at his week-to-week fantasy production from last year, there was only one week where you could say Kyle Pitts was the reason you won your fantasy matchup, and that was week 15, where he scored 45.6 fantasy points. Now, he did have 4 other games where he scored at least 15 points, but he also had 8 games with less than 8 points. And if you take out that one outlier game of 45 points and average his other 16 games, he averaged 10.3 points per game, which would have put him as tight end 16. So aside from one game last year, Kyle Pitts wasn't winning your fantasy league for you. So despite finishing as tight end 2 last year, I still don't trust him that much. So I have him at 9, but I feel like that there is a really good chance that he's not going to be in the top 10. So
look,
I don't know. I didn't really know what to do with him.
Kyle Pitts had 5 touchdowns last year. 3 of them were in that game against Tampa Bay, that week 15 game.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, I just don't. His career. This is his 6th year in the league. His career touchdowns per year are 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Okay,
so he's getting 6 this year.
By record, he's going to get 6 this year. But I don't trust that either for the same reason we didn't trust Drake London. I don't have Kyle Pitts in my top 10. I just don't believe in Kyle Pitts at all.
I think because the statistical bar of success for tight ends is so low, I think Pitts deserves to be 9. I think for the same reason that a 1-game anomaly put him at number 2 shows how low this bar is. That he just has to it's one of the it's just like interceptions for DBs. You can have a guy with 11 picks in 1 year, and then the next year, no injuries. For all intents and purposes, he's even better. He gets 1 pick. Why? Because quarterbacks were on a higher alert. I don't know. I just feel like in the red zone, maybe he's just a little bit more of a target sometimes. I mean, if we're talking about 1 touchdown and being outside the top 10, or 5 more touchdowns across 17 games, putting you at number 2, yeah. He could get that. He could get that. I feel like Drake London is like, you need to have consistent production to be top 10 in receivers. As a tight end, you just need 1 lucky game. 1 lucky game. That's how bad everyone else is. That's how little quarterbacks are throwing to tight ends right now.
No, Will, did you say who your number 9 was?
I did not. I have Harold Fannin Jr. for all the same reasons you said earlier that have been mentioned earlier. The Browns have 3 options at quarterback, and none of them are great. And like I said so many times last year, bad quarterbacks need their safety blanket tight ends, and that's what the Browns are going to need this year. Is a lot of Harold Fannin Jr. doing his thing.
All right, number 10, and this is where I have Sam Laporta. With Sam Laporta, you have to look at his points per game instead of his overall finish because he only played 9 games last year. So because of that, he finished as tight end 27. But when you look at his points per game, he averaged 11.9, which was good enough to be tight end 7. So I think he deserves a spot in the top 10 for that reason. However, I think he's going to be towards the bottom of the top 10 because of how many targets will be demanded elsewhere. The Lions have Gibbs, St. Brown, Jameson Williams, and other guys. And so it's just not going to be as easy to get Laporta the ball. With the way the Lions score points, I think he'll still have his fair share, but I think that I just couldn't put him higher than this because of who's around him and because I think some of the other young tight ends are going to be prioritized in their offenses more than Laporta will be in his offense. Avery, who's your number 10?
You want to take a guess?
Ooh. Is it Cade Otton?
It is not Cade Otton.
I figured you had two other
Jake
Buccaneers
Ferguson.
at number 10. I figured you just put him at number 10.
Jake Ferguson, Dallas.
I got Kenyon Sadiq. I think.
Oh, I should have known. We should have known.
We should have known.
That's why I asked. Just because the top 3 tight ends last year all made the top 10, I feel like there's no reason Sadiq shouldn't. I know right now he's recovering from a little sports hernia. They say he's not going to miss any regular season time, so I think it really just comes down to how well he works in that system. I mean, granted, the whole reason Brock Bowers suffered in production is now throwing to Sadiq, so that could be an issue. But like Will said, they need their safety blankets. I think Sadiq is a big target out there. The only reason I don't have him higher, because I was really wanting to put him higher, and this is my only knock on Sadiq, is I don't know if he just doesn't fully comprehend his own body mass, but so many catches at Oregon, and I watched every single game. I watched every single catch of Sadiq the past 2 years. That dude is jumping way higher and way more horizontally than any man that size ever should. The way he is coming down looks like he is being thrown out of a building onto the ground. Like it looks tough, and I feel like he is going to get hurt despite him being a brick house of a man. I really hope he can stay healthy. I really hope Geno Smith can figure it out. I really wish he wasn't on the Jets, but he is. But either way, I feel like the tight end race is open, and right now it's a young man's game, and I like Sadiq. I was thinking about maybe swapping out, what's his name, Kelsey, but I'm sticking with Sadiq.
I like it. All right. Well, that wraps up our fantasy rankings for wide receivers and tight ends.
Who'd you guys have?
Hold on.
Who do Will have?
Oh, sorry, Will. I figured your guy wasn't important anyway, so.
You're right. Look, I had Colston Loveland, and then while we were talking, made an active change. I got George Kittle in there now. Get him out. Get Colston Loveland out of my top 10. The Bears suck. They always are going to suck. Painted nails are going to be terrible this year. Their offensive line's going to break an ankle. I truly hope not. I wish injuries were not a part of the game. Like Avery said earlier, get in the franchise mode, turn that crap off. We don't need it. I want your best against my best, and the Bears'
no
best
excuses.
isn't good enough.
No excuses.
Look, people want out of the Bears, and that's fine. That's why what's his bucket went to Buffalo. Because look, they're trying to win.
That's why the Bears are trying to get out of Chicago.
Even Chicago Bears are being kicked out of their own city, and so I don't know. I don't trust anything that Chicago's doing. I think we've seen a full year of Ben Johnson as head coach. The tape is out there. Tape on what Caleb Williams is going to do is out there. Now I think Caleb Williams becomes a better quarterback as a player, but what he's going to lose is all the luck that he had that carried him through last season. Because it's almost impossible to say that it's not just luck. Like that touchdown in the playoff game against the Rams to send it to overtime, that was just luck. He threw that ball up there. Anything could have happened, but it came down in his players' hands, and it's just the way it went. And so we don't see teams consistently carry luck from one season to the next, except the Indianapolis Colts when he played for them. But besides that, you just don't get last year's luck this year, and so I expect less out of the Bears, which I think makes all 4 lists now. I don't have a single Bears player listed. Now, to be fair, I also don't have any Jets players listed. So let's not act like this is
Does anybody?
exclusive to the Bears. Avery does. Avery has Sadiq.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
None
Wait,
of
so
us
who's your
listed
number
Garrett
10?
Wilson.
Will, so who's your number 10, Will?
George Kittle.
Okay.
Even if George Kittle starts the season on the pup, which is potential he may, even if he does, I still think he finishes as a top 10 tight end. Missing the first 4 games, I think he still finishes top 10 tight end.
All right. You guys got anything else you want to add before we wrap up?
Yes, I do. She will never hear this ever in her life, but today is my wife's actual birthday, and she actually took the kids out to go get dinner to bring it back on her own birthday, while I'm sitting here and doing this.
You're such a terrible
and so just,
husband.
I absentee father right here. But just shout out to my wife, and again, she will never hear this. I need to call her immediately when this is over. Shout out to my mother. My wife and my mom have the same birthday, different years. But
Thank you for that. Thank you. We needed. We were all thinking the same thing until you cleared that up.
Same calendar, day of the calendar, different years. But look, man, if you're out there looking for a spouse, getting one that has the same birthday as your mom, truly great, because you only have to remember one date and it applies to both of them. So happy birthday to my mother and my wife.
Nice.
Both hitting 29 for their respective continuous year. So shout out to them.
Nice. Happy birthday to them. All right. Well, that's going to wrap up episode 76. I am very excited for next week's show because we are going to do a little bit of 2027 scouting some of the top quarterbacks in the 2027 NFL draft. But as always, don't forget to keep your balls played with. We'll see you next time.
Bye now, y'all. Also, Mark Davis' haircut still sucks.